Composer, producer, musician, and godfather of disco à la française, Cerrone laid the foundations for the French touch movement in the 1990s. Spinning the turntables at clubs and festivals for over 50 years, he's an inspiration for generations of musicians. Cerrone's hits Give Me Love and Supernature were part of the soundtrack to Paris's Olympic Games. He sat down with France 24 at the Philharmonie de Paris to tell us more. Hello, Cerrone.
Hi.
Today, more than ever, your music really gets the crowds going. Does that make you happy?
I've always been fulfilled, but yes, that's even more the case now, especially in France.
You've just released your album, Disco Symphony. On it, you revisit your greatest hits with American composer Randy Kerber, who gives them an orchestral sound. Can you tell us about this encounter between the dance floor and the symphony orchestra? What does it bring to the table?
Well, since the very beginning, the orchestral aspects have always been there. I always have lots of strings, lots of brass and big orchestrations, except this time we're playing it live. And since I'm always caught between the drums and the DJing, it allows me to revisit my own sound. So they play the symphonic part, the very orchestrated part, and I have my group of musicians, and I bring a bit of an electro side to it. And then to hear this whole group of 50 musicians playing live, to listen again, to hear the arrangements I've made with synthesizers and so on and so forth, to hear them play on their double basses, 4 double basses, it's very, well, it gives me goosebumps, as they say. In any case, it's very touching.
The original version of Love in C minor, which is on the new album too, won a Grammy Award when it was released in 1976. It was the heyday of disco. You were in New York at that time, living in the US, right?
I thought to myself, I'm going to make one last album, no concessions, no compromises. That's why it's 16.5 minutes long, so it wasn't made for radio, with very few melodies but lots of arrangements. And my aim was to transport people, to take them somewhere else. I must have got it right because I've been transporting them for 50 years, if I may say so myself. I've stayed on my path, watching fashions come and go. Disco went from being more or less fashionable, and then it seemed like it was a bit has-been. But at the end of the day, dance music has never changed. It's never changed. We've had different names for it. We've called it house, garage, groove, you name it, but it's still disco.
Going back to the very beginning of disco, what was so new and so seductive about it?
Seductive? Only a certain sector of the public was seduced by it. Before disco in 1977 in the nightclubs, they only played the hits you heard on the radio. Disco was different. We didn't want to listen to what it was on the radio. We wanted something new. So a handful of us producers, including Nile Rodgers, Giorgio Moroder, myself and a few others, started composing and producing music that was really made for discos. At the same time, an incredible club called Studio 54 came along, so there was a real venue for it as well. And there was something very original about it. They had taken an old theatre, a real theatre, and turned it into a nightclub. It was amazing. And of course, it brought together a huge crowd of people, all equally provocative and a bit crazy. I mean, Warhol and Basquiat, and Gaultier and Jean-Paul Goude, all the precursors of what was to come and what was to follow for the next 50 years. So I was part of it, and it was a great time.
Just a stone's throw away from us, the Philharmonie de Paris is hosting a major exhibition on the history of disco music. Your legendary drum kit is on show there. What does it symbolize?
If there's anything I've contributed to pop music, it's not my arrangements, it's not all that. If you look at all the times I've been sampled, it's always been my way of playing drums. So you could say that's my thing. If I'd been a guitarist, then they would have put a guitar there. We put the drums in because, yes, I think that this rhythm that we hear in all styles today, I had something to do with it. Even if back in the day, when I first came up with it, people in France called me a lumberjack drummer, as if I was chopping wood, like that.
This exhibition is called Disco I'm Coming Out. It's a deep dive into the history of a style that goes beyond the glitter of the dance floor and explores its political roots. Take a look at this report.
Soulful voices, a peppy rhythm, and a truly infectious sort of joy, disco is the ultimate soundtrack for a party. Yet beyond the sparkle of its sequined outfits, the genre is first and foremost a music of emancipation, bringing together African Americans fighting for civil rights in the early 1970s and the gay community campaigning for the right to emerge from the shadows and live without shame.
La musique disco a connu d'abord un vrai succès.
Disco music was really successful within the gay community in small clubs, but very quickly it reached the general public thanks to the songs of disco divas like Diana Ross, Gloria Gaynor, Donna Summer, and many others.
Candice Stetton et beaucoup d'autres.
It quickly outgrew the first minorities who embraced it to reach the general public, from the working class to jet-setters.
Des classes ouvrières à la jet set.
Disco was a runaway success, and the trend swept the globe. Following in the footsteps of the Americans, European artists took to the genre and made their own hits. One of them was Cella, who shook off her image as a wholesome young singer of yeye-style rock and roll, formed a new band, and embraced a new look too.
You can't be Cella, France's cute little singer, and then show up in sequin shorts with 3 black guys jumping around. So I had to come up with a name SB Devotion to slip under the radar without anyone judging us. That way, people listened to our songs first, and when they got more popular, we said it was me.
Others have also been lured by the disco sound. ABBA, Madonna, and Daft Punk have all produced disco albums over the years. For DJ and producer Dimitri from Paris, who created the soundtrack for the exhibition, that's because this particular kind of music is timeless.
As soon as I discovered disco, I had this desire to share it. As a DJ, I realized that it's extremely effective and makes people very happy. Today, even more so than before, I only play original disco tracks.
A tried and tested crowd pleaser for more than 50 years, the story of disco is now being told at the Philharmonie in Paris, while its sounds are still being heard on dance floors all over the world.
You're also embarking on a live tour with venues transformed into dance floors. What's so special about these concerts compared to what you've been doing for almost 50 years now?
I've spent my life on stage. I got into this business to be on stage, not to make records or get on the radio or TV. I do it when there's something new, when I need to let people know that it's just come out. But I've always made musical content for the stage, just as DJs do today, and I've never finished one tour and started another. I've spent my life on stage. I still do 30, 40, 50 concerts a year. In 50 years, I don't think I've gone a year without being on stage.
Supernature and Give Me Love were highlights at the Olympic opening and closing ceremonies in Paris. It was a real triumph. Why do you think people were so thrilled by those tracks?
I can't explain it, I just take it and enjoy it. It's been a wonderful gift from France, with an incredible resonance all over the planet. I think we had 2 million viewers at the time we were on, so that's a lot. And all the things that followed are life's rewards. They're like tributes. I took it as a tribute. It was more special to me than a Grammy Award, for example.
People say you're the godfather of French disco and the French touch. You're always collaborating with the most exciting artists of the moment. How do you do that, passing on your knowledge?
I've always been like that. I'm lucky enough, let's say, to be a little bit respected. And when I call an artist to collaborate, I've never been turned down. Like here with the symphony orchestra at the Philharmonie. At the end of the day, that's like receiving a gift, whether it's young or old artists. When I asked Jimmy Page from Led Zeppelin to come and do a solo on my album, I think it's more of a US-UK thing. Artists just get together and mix up their projects, as long as they have something to say to each other, and when it's a real opportunity to share artistic and musical ideas, and not for a media stunt.
Well, blending those ideas makes disco timeless. Thank you, Cerrone.
Thank you very much.